I blame it on the Exxon Valdez. Do you remember the Exxon Valdez? I was a commercial fisherman and working in the Gulf of Alaska in a number of different fisheries. And in 1989, I was standing in a net shed hanging a new herring net to take to Togiak, and I heard on NPR as we're listening and tying knots that there was a horrible oil spill in Prince William Sound. And I remember thinking, those poor buggers over in Prince William Sound, they're going to have a hard time of it. Little did I know that that oil spill was going to spread across most of the Gulf of Alaska and even up into part of Bristol Bay. So we went out and we tried to fish and we got shut down. And when I got shut down, I received the first check from Exxon so I could survive the winter. So I received this check from Exxon and I was looking at it and I was thinking, well, where could I invest this? And I talked to the skipper of the boat that I was working on and I said, where should I invest this? He was a smart guy. And he looked at me and says, Loren, at your age, you need to buy an education, go to school. And so I did. I started going to college at that point. I was 24. And so I thought I would get an education degree because it would seem like a really good idea to fish in the summers and then to teach and get benefits in the winter. So I wanted to go and live in Chiniga or Titlik or one of these small communities in Prince William Sound. But as an undergraduate, I was enticed by the science that was going on around me. And I started working with one individual who was a hibernation biologist and another person who was an endocrinologist as an undergraduate. And I was fascinated by the research. But I kept my eye on the prize. I wanted to be a teacher, and I got my K through 12 certification, and I got my degree in biological sciences. And then these two individuals that I was working with said, you know, you can always go back and teach. You should go to graduate school. You've got an interest in this. Give it a try. So they convinced me, but I was only going to go to graduate school in Alaska. That's what I decided. So I opened up, this was the days of the old catalogs. I opened up the catalog and there's really only one campus in the state that was doing significant research at that time, and that was UAF. And I looked at the biology and wildlife page, and the first name that popped up was Dr. Brian Barnes. Hibernation physiology, endocrinology. And those were the two things that I was doing when I was an undergraduate. So I sent in an application. It was late, and Brian had a lot of research going on, a lot of demand to get into his lab, but for some reason he gave me a chance and accepted me as a graduate student. And so I started working with Arctic ground squirrels right then and did that for my PhD. Got my PhD completed, and I had an opportunity to get involved in marine biology. So I was conducting research related to the stellar sea lion crisis, an endangered species problem in the late 90s. And actually it exists today, but I did that for the better part of a decade. At the same time, maintaining some hibernation work, though it wasn't my focus at that time until I came to UAA as a faculty member. And at that point, I ramped up the hibernation work again to full steam ahead. So it wasn't a well thought out plan. It was being adaptable and responsive to opportunity and to the things that I wanted to do. And I've been very, very fortunate in the research world. We've been able to keep this operation funded. We've trained a lot of students. We've generated a lot of new knowledge. And we've persisted even through these last few years of very difficult funding. And I think it's been a good ride and a very effective program that's been put together.